Right now at 5, charges are filed in Jasper County against 2 people accused of mail theft. Plus, we've got ourselves an alert day for today as we can see some additional wintry weather moving into the area. We'll talk about that forecast coming up. And the ACLU's challenge to the death penalty in the state of Kansas is set to go in front of a judge in Sedgwick County, Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5 a.m. I'm Chris Warner. Tanya will be joining us a little later this morning. We do have an alert day for us today, though, in that forecast because we could see some additional wintry weather late this morning into the early afternoon, mainly along and south of I-44. And we still have a traffic alert for drivers out there as we've still got some slick roads. Now, you can see from the MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range line, all that white stuff on the road. That's just some of the salt they've put down. So crews have been working. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement across portions of Cherokee County, so do be cautious if you're out driving this morning. MoDOT, on the other hand, really south of I-44, still some partly covered to covered roadways this morning. So again, if you're in Neosho, Monette, Cassville, Pineville areas, slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. Skywatch Storm Tracker clear for now, and Delaware County has a winter weather advisory that'll go through 6 o'clock tonight. We could see some additional alerts pop up depending on how the snow ends up looking later today. We're at 19 in Joplin right now, north-northeast breeze at 8, making it feel like it is 9 degrees, and it is bitterly cold across the area again. 12 in Yates Center, 17 Pittsburgh, 21 Miami, 19 Neosho and Carthage, and you factor in that breeze, feels like 1 in Fort Scott and Nevada, 9 in Parsons, 10 in Miami, and it feels like 12 in Neosho. So you can see our chances of wintry precipitation are not extraordinarily high, but they are there, and anything we see could lead to some additional slick spots on the roads. So just make sure you are careful if you're out driving, again, especially along and south of I-44. So that's why for our commuter cast this morning, we've got that red light again because, again, KDOT, MoDOT still reporting some slick spots out there. That wintry mix will get here late morning and should be out of here by about 4 o'clock. And as you can see, we don't do a lot of warming. So that's, again, why we have that red light, though, for your drive home, as we will continue to see some slick spots on the roadways. A number of schools, especially in Missouri and Oklahoma, have already canceled for this morning, but those not really impacted by the weather. We're looking at 14 and cloudy this morning, and by the time they get home, the snow's on the wrong screen there, but you get the idea. We could have that light wintry mix by 3 o'clock for some of us, and 21. We're looking at winds gusting up to 20 again. Heading for a high of about 24 degrees. Again, that wintry mix late morning and ending in the early afternoon, so no major accumulations expected, but again, with the cold temperatures, could lead to some slick spots. Down to a bitterly cold 16 tonight for our overnight low under those cloudy skies. However, as we look ahead, we have another chance of wintry weather Thursday morning, and then we'll make it up to 44. And then as we head into the weekend, we're still looking at a pretty decent warm-up out there as we see temperatures return to the 50s to near 60 by next Monday. So that's a check of that forecast for you. Now to this morning's top headlines. And a Sunday night crash has led to serious injuries for a Carl Junction man. The crash occurred at approximately 11:45 Sunday night off of Highway P at Central City Road, a quarter-mile west of Joplin. A Kia Rio driven by Cody Harrington slid into the eastbound lane and struck a 2017 Chevy Cruze driven by Sarah Hartman of Joplin. Harrington was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Hartman was transported to Freeman Hospital in Joplin with moderate injuries. Authorities filed charges against 2 Joplin residents for a suspected mail stealing spree in the Joplin area. They say 30-year-old Aaron Blake and 27-year-old Emily Sturgis are responsible for stealing mail from more than 170 victims. During the investigation, authorities searched a room at the Terra Motel where Sturgis and Blake used to stay. They say they found open mail with W-2 forms, car titles, financial statements, and checks and credit cards. Both suspects are charged with stealing in Jasper County. The American Civil Liberties Union challenge to the death penalty in Kansas will go before a Sedgwick County judge and question if it's even constitutional. Attorneys for the ACLU are making the case that the use of the death penalty is discriminatory and doesn't serve its punitive purpose. The state of Kansas hasn't executed anyone on death row in more than 60 years, but capital punishment is used in charging and sentencing some cases. Sean Logan spoke with an attorney working on the case and looks at how the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office is responding.
Kyle Young is charged with capital murder for the shooting deaths of George Kirksey and Alicia Romans in January 2020. While the ACLU is challenging the use of the state's death penalty statute in this case, the director of ACLU's Capital Punishment Project says if the ruling is in their favor, it could have broader impacts.
That ruling, we would hope, then would be applied to other cases. The other thing that we're asking the court to do is to rule that the death penalty statute overall is unconstitutional.
The ACLU says it has spent more than 2 years working with experts to research and gather evidence about the Kansas death penalty statute and its use in Sedgwick County.
The scope of the hearing is unprecedented. No court has looked at this record of evidence in Kansas. And then also the level of new evidence that we have.
Cassandra Stubbs says part of their challenge focuses on the death qualification, where potential jurors opposed to the death penalty are excluded from the juror pool.
Every study that's ever looked at it finds that it changes who would be eligible to serve on the death penalty. It removes people who are more likely to ask serious questions about the prosecutor's evidence. They're more likely to lead to wrongful conviction.
Cassandra also says their research shows it changes the demographics of the jury, as Black and women jurors are less likely to be represented. The ACLU also points to the research to argue the death penalty is unfairly applied and less likely to be used when the victim is a person of color. Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett responded to the death penalty challenge in a more than 60-page filing. That included saying that since no trial has yet happened, it's too early to make a decision about this, writing, "In the event the defendant is convicted of capital murder and is subsequently sentenced to death, then the court would be in a position to determine whether the institutional failures described by the defendant were in fact impervious to the steps taken by the court." Bennett adds the issues raised have already been litigated and resolved by other Kansas cases.
Now, Bennett also added in a statement that however the trial court rules, the court's ruling will be subject to further litigation at the appellate level. Kyle Young's case is currently scheduled for a jury trial in October. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather here in the first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it's a big border battle game as Frontenac takes on Nevada. We'll have more on it in sports. Plus, from the Master of Horror's work being adapted into a new movie to a new Kids on the Block fan convention, we're going to dive into some Hollywood news and how the pandemic has caused students to lose out on more than a third of a year's worth of learning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are headed back to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20 Sunday night to win their third AFC championship in the last 4 years. They definitely had to work for it that night. It was tied at 20 with less than 20 seconds remaining. Patrick Mahomes scrambled for a 5-yard gain but was hit late out of bounds. A 15-yard penalty put Kansas City in field goal range, and Harrison Butker delivered the game winner in the final seconds. It was a sweet win for Kansas City, not only because it puts them in the Super Bowl, but also the Chiefs snapped a 3-game losing streak to Cincinnati.
The way we've played the last couple games, I mean, you saw it was very similar to these last games where we get ahead and they come back and beat us, and that's a credit to them, man. They had a great team and great leaders over there. But we felt like we needed to get this win. We wanted to play this team, and we got them at Arrowhead Stadium, and we were able to finish the job this time. And I mean, the job's not finished for us. I mean, we got a chance to go up against a great football team in Philadelphia Eagles. And so we had to enjoy this for about a day and then get right back to it because I've been in the Super Bowl, man, and winning it's a lot better than losing it.
So now one more to go. It's going to be the Chiefs and the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, on February 12th. The line has already moved with money coming in on Philly, but right now the Chiefs are 2-point underdogs. With a win in this one, Kansas City would earn its third Super Bowl title. We have a big border battle on the basketball court in Frontenac. The Frontenac girls welcome in the Nevada Tigers. These two teams just met 11 days ago in the Raider Classic, with Nevada winning a good one 58-55. To the game, first quarter, Mia Brown in the corner for the Raiders, rattles in the three. Then Riley Green off the dribble. She hits the threes in the first quarter. She hits 3 threes, rather. Frontenac leads going into the second. Right before the half, tie game. Maddie Majors bangs it in off the glass. Nevada comes back to lead by 2 at the break. Third quarter, more from Major, strong drive and finish. She leads Nevada with 16 points. In the fourth, Hattie Pyle rebounds and puts it back. She scores 13, Frontenac within 2, but then we have a career milestone on the other end. Clara Swearingen gets the jumper to bounce home, and that is Swearingen's 1,000th career point. She finishes the night with 13. Nevada wins 54-51, and Swearingen leaves Frontenac with a career milestone.
It was excitement and relief both at the same time. I knew I was really close. I didn't know the exact number, but I knew I was close. It was super great. I was just so excited to see everyone in the stands and holding the posters and everything.
Still to come, emergency workers in Russia's Moscow region helped to free a bear who got itself stuck in a tire while trying to play with it. And we're going to take another look at that wintry forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. We've got an alert day for us today as we have more wintry weather on the way, and even though the snow has stopped for now, we still have some slick spots out there. KDOT reporting some wet pavement in Cherokee County this morning, so slow down, give yourself some time. MoDOT still reporting basically south of I-44, partly covered to completely covered roadways still, so if you're traveling around Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, even up to Mount Vernon, do give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going because we still have slick spots out there. Now, for right now, Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear. We do have this winter weather advisory still in effect for Delaware County through 6 tonight, and that is because we'll see additional wintry weather, and we could see some additional advisories depending on how this system plays out later today. 19 in Joplin, feeling like 9 right now with a north-northeast breeze at 8. Another bitterly cold start for us. We got 12 in Yates Center, 18 Parsons, 21 Miami, 19 Neosho Carthage, and 17 in Lamar, and you factor in that breeze, we've got 1 is what it feels like in Fort Scott, Nevada, 7 in Lamar, 8 Columbus, and feels like 10 in Miami this morning. So again, our snow chances and chances for this overall are fairly low, but they are there, and you can see they pick up late morning and they wrap up by the early afternoon. We're not anticipating major accumulations out of this, but it could be enough to lead to additional slick spots out there, so watch out. Make sure you got a good grip on the wheel and just be careful of those slick spots. MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range Line. Roads in Joplin are fairly clear. Now, the side streets that I drove on, of course, they've still got some sleet on them, but otherwise the main roads are clear for now. But we still have that red light for your morning drive. We're cloudy, cold, and as we mentioned, still some slick spots out there. And we hold on to that red light this evening. That wintry mix wrapping up by about 3, 4 o'clock, leaving us cloudy and cold still. But we could still have some additional slick spots. Now, for those kids going to school, I haven't reversed this snow yet. It's on the wrong part here, but we're cloudy, 14 degrees at 7 a.m. with a northeast breeze at 5 to 10. That breeze starts gusting to around 20, and by 3 o'clock, 21, and maybe a wintry mix out there for some of us. So again, we're cloudy today, 24. That wintry mix kind of bobbles around a little bit, mostly along and south of I-44 today, but some of us in southeast Kansas could get some light snow out there. Then we clear out. We're cold tonight and cloudy, back down to 16 for our overnight low. As we look ahead, though, there's some good news on the horizon. Now, first, we have one more wintry system to get through Thursday. Again, not a major system, but enough to make for some slick spots late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. But we warm up nicely to 44, and then check out after that. 44 Friday, we get some mostly cloudy skies, but a little more sunshine, and we are up to almost 60 by next Monday as we watch another system come in with a chance of some evening showers. So just a couple more days of nastiness to get through, and then we'll start to have a slightly more mild January for us. Well, movie news now, including the latest from the master of horror. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
I don't see anything. Okay, monster check complete.
Who's watching the kids? Here's a look at the first trailer for The Boogeyman, based on the Stephen King story. The Boogeyman creeps into theaters June 2nd.
You guys know it's been 15 years since we reunited?
No way! We should celebrate!
New Kids on the Block went retro to announce BlockCon, their first ever fan convention, May 26th to 28th in Chicago, featuring panels, parties, exhibits, and of course, a New Kids concert. Tickets go on sale Friday. More info at nkotb.com.
I didn't want to leave you. I didn't wanna fight, started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers.
Miley Cyrus is still blooming on the Billboard charts. Flowers easily topped the Hot 100 for a second straight week, as well as the streaming songs and digital song sales charts. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Now back to the King of Horror. That brings us to our question for you this morning. What's your favorite Stephen King book? Is it Carrie, Misery, Needful Things, The Shining, The Green Mile, 11/22/63, or something else? We want to hear from you, so make sure you vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on Facebook. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, weight loss surgery appears to reduce the risk of an early death, especially from obesity-related conditions such as cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Researchers going through 40 years of data from nearly 22,000 bariatric surgery patients in Utah discovered, compared to people of similar weight, those who underwent one of 4 types of weight loss surgery were less likely to die from any cause. And the type was more dramatic when looking at specific causes of death, such as heart disease, diabetes, or cancer. Further research is needed to figure out exactly what is behind the lower risk. Well, showing appreciation can go a long way in improving your heart health. A new study finds reacting to stress with gratitude benefits the future of your cardiovascular health. Too much stress can be harmful to the heart. It can even increase the risk of coronary heart disease and can also lead to high blood pressure. Researchers in Ireland discovered a thankful worldview helps lower blood pressure during stressful situations. Changing the way you look at things could be the key to recovering from stressful circumstances in a healthy way. A new study suggests school-aged children worldwide lost out on more than a third of a year's worth of learning when COVID-19 caused schools to close. Researchers looked at data from 42 studies on learning progress during the pandemic in 15 different countries. Most of the studies were done from high and middle income countries and a few from low income ones. They found that learning deficits due to the school closures were, quote, particularly pronounced for children from low socioeconomic backgrounds. The author said students have still not recovered from the setbacks and suggests that school districts take steps to add tutoring and learning time, such as summer programs or longer school years, in an effort to get them back on track. Well, COVID-19 was a leading cause of death for children in the United States in recent data, but children are still less likely to die from the virus than any other age group. That's according to a new study published Monday in the journal JAMA Network Open. Looking at federal data, researchers concluded about 1 out of every 100,000 children died from COVID-19 between August of 2021 to July of 2022, compared with 2019 numbers that ranks 8th as a leading cause of death. COVID-19 has also become the top cause of death from any infectious or respiratory disease. Researchers say these numbers may not show the whole picture because COVID-19 deaths have been underreported. Well, a record number of Americans missed work last year because of illnesses. New data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows almost 19 million absences were reported last year. That's about 1.5 million sick Americans who missed work each month. Long COVID could be a factor in these absences. The CDC says more than a quarter of U.S. adults who have COVID-19 reported symptoms lasting 3 months or longer. According to the labor statistics data, monthly absences have not fallen below 1 million since November of 2019, before the pandemic began. They peaked at 3.6 million in January of 2022 when COVID-19 cases skyrocketed amid the first Omicron wave. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are watching additional chances of wintry weather, so we've got clear roads in Joplin for now, but that could change later today. We'll take a look at your complete forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, a Fredonia man is transported to Mercy Hospital with serious injuries after a crash in Newton County, Missouri.
And we have an alert day again for us today for another wintry mix later this afternoon. We'll talk more about that and when we'll get a break from this coming up.
And multiple organizations in the Wichita, Kansas area get together to discuss human trafficking.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we have another alert day for us today as we've got this nasty weather that we're still dealing with. I mean, it is winter, so wintry weather is what we should be expecting. We also have a traffic alert for you this morning as we still have some slick spots out there. And as you can see from the MoDOT camera 32nd and range line is pretty clear, and most of the main roads in Joplin are clear for the time being, but that could change later today. KDOT still reporting some what they call wet pavement across portions of Cherokee County this morning. And on the MoDOT side, really south of I-44, still some partly covered to covered roadways around, say, Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, and even up toward Mount Vernon. So do use caution if you are traveling this morning and stay home if you can. I know a number of schools and organizations already canceling for today, and we'll have those at the bottom of your screen. Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear for now. We've just got the winter weather advisory in Delaware County through 6 o'clock this evening. We could see some additional advisories later today, depending on how this system plays out. We're at 19 in Joplin right now, feeling like 9 with a north-northeast breeze at 8 miles an hour. And for you Joplin kids, just got the automated call. Joplin has canceled again for today, and it is another AMI day. We got 12 in Iola, 18 Parsons, 20 Miami, 19 in Neosho and Carthage. You factor in the wind, feels like 2 below in Iola, 0 Fort Scott and Nevada, 6 in Columbus, and feels like 8 in Miami and Neosho. So again, the chances aren't skyrocketing as we go through the late morning and early afternoon, but they are there. And anything we get, while major accumulations aren't a big issue, could still lead to some slick spots out there. So do be cautious. And that's why we have a red light for your morning drive, as will be cloudy, cold, slick spots. Red light for the drive home as the wintry mix tapers off. More slick spots and cold. For kids that do have school today, we're looking at about 14 when they get on the bus at 7 a.m. and maybe some light snow, 21 by the time they get home. So for today, we're heading for a high of a whopping 24 degrees with some of that wintry mix out there, again, mainly along and south of I-44, and then cloudy and down to 16 tonight. So another very bitterly cold, wintry day. We could have some gusty winds, so again, some dangerously cold wind chills out there, so don't be outside unless you absolutely have to. And in those areas that still have slick spots or could see some more snow later, just stay home.
Yeah, stay home.
It's safer to do that. It'll warm up later and you can get out this weekend.
There you go. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a car crash in Newton County leads to serious injuries for a Fredonia, Kansas man. The crash happened at approximately 6:23 Sunday night on Missouri 43 at Capoke Drive, 1 mile north of Seneca. A 2001 Dodge Ram driven by Joanne Baker experienced a vehicle defect while attempting to make a turn and was struck by a 2013 Hyundai Sonata driven by 39-year-old Jess Seward of Fredonia, Kansas. Seward was transported to Mercy Hospital with serious injuries. Law enforcement officers and first responders respond to an emergency medical situation in Pittsburgh. Happened January 25th, approximately 7 a.m. Law enforcement officers and first responders were dispatched to a residence in the 300 block of West Park Street. Upon arrival, responders located a 25-year-old female subject in the residence who sustained what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That subject was transported to Via Christi for emergency treatment and later to Freeman Health in Joplin, where she passed away January 27th. There were no indications of foul play and a firearm was found at the scene. The city of Joplin is asking residents to nominate people for its Historic Preservation Awards. There are 3 categories. One is for the Leslie Simpson Award, which goes on to an individual who has made a significant contribution to historic preservation through events and outreach. There's also the Jeff and Carolina Neal Award, given to people involved in historic preservation development. And finally, the Murfreesburg Award, which goes to a group that made significant contributions to improving historic neighborhoods. Nominations can be made through the city's website and are open through March 31st. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces a $4 million grant to advance early childhood education statewide. The state's Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund received the grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It will support efforts to bolster the early childhood workforce and to conduct a study on streamlining programs to make them easier for families to navigate. In recognition of Human Trafficking Awareness Month, multiple organizations gather in the Wichita area to discuss the issue, and those include some representing the Red Sand Project. Jaya Brown explains.
There's been a few people walking around asking us, what is this? And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to raise awareness.
It's a creative movement that has people stopping to look. The idea of the Red Sand Project is to bring awareness to human trafficking, and the red sand symbolizes the importance to prevent trafficking victims from falling through the cracks.
I think it's an amazing awareness project because when you see red sand in cracks around town, they're going to ask questions, and we chalk in human trafficking to make people aware that this is what that symbolizes.
Now, the joint effort within the Red Sand Project allows people to question, connect, and take action.
Unfortunately, in our community, we have, in many communities all across the nation, we have people that look to take advantage of children in those vulnerable situations. And so we need to be aware of those situations and making sure that we can connect them into appropriate resources and support services.
The Department of Justice identifies Kansas because of its central location as a state where child trafficking starts. That's why this project is so important to the community.
The more you know, the more willing you'll be able to get help before you fall deeper into the cracks.
Well, if you or someone you know is at risk of human trafficking or living in an unsafe situation, there is a 24-hour hotline you can call, 316-262-HOME. Well, this morning we're discussing the master of horror himself, Stephen King.
Stephen King. There's a chance you know who he is. If you don't, well, I've got some great news for you. We're going to tell you about him. Stephen King is an American author of horror, supernatural fiction, suspense, crime, science fiction, and fantasy novels. He's earned the title King of Horror. His books have sold more than 350 million copies, and many have been adapted into films, television series, miniseries, and comic books.
Well, King has published 64 novels, including 7 under the pen name as Richard KOAM, as well as 5 nonfiction books. He's approximately written 200 short stories, most of which have been published in book collections. He received multiple awards over his career, including the Bram Stoker Award.
And that brings us to our question for you this morning. What's your favorite Stephen King book? So far, 33% of you say Misery. 67% of you say it's something not on our list, and our list includes Misery, Carrie, The Green Mile, 11/22/63, Needful Things, and The Shining. So make sure you vote on our website, through our app, take part in discussion on our Facebook page, and if you're voting other, make sure you share what your other favorite Stephen King book is.
The first one of his that I read was Carrie.
Man, they're all great. They're all great.
Yes, I agree. You
That's
like
why
horror films. I know you like that too.
Amber loves the horror films, so she's a huge Stephen King fan.
There you go. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we meet the first woman to complete 1,000 inclines in a year.
Plus, France buys an impressionist masterpiece worth $40 million for its Orsay Museum. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, a suicide bomber kills dozens in a mosque in Pakistan on Monday. 59 people killed and over 150 wounded as a result of the attack in the city of Peshawar. Reports say most of the casualties were police officers. More than 300 worshippers were said to be praying in the mosque when the bomber set off his explosive vest. The Pakistani Taliban originally claiming credit for the attack, but hours later, the terror group's spokesman denied the claim. No official word yet on who is responsible for the attack. Well, the United States is shipping more than 60 Bradley tanks to Ukraine. The tanks were driven onto a cargo ship in North Charleston, South Carolina last week, and they're now making their way to the war-torn nation. They're part of the latest U.S. military aid package to Ukraine. This is the first installment. The U.S. has pledged to send Ukraine more than 40 more of the war machines. The U.S. military says it's providing Ukrainian forces with additional offensive and defensive capabilities to help them protect their borders against Russia's invasion, which has been going on for more than 11 months. Well, a bear is finally free after one tiring experience. The nearly 900-pound mammal got stuck in a car tire while playing with it at an equestrian park outside of Moscow. Aw, the rubber tire got wrapped around his belly like a belt. Emergency crews came to the rescue, first tranquilizing the bear before using an electric saw to cut through the rubber. The bear, named Fyodor, is now recovering from the traumatic tire experience, and the crew was happy to help. as they posed for a picture with the sleeping bear. Can't imagine doing that if he was awake. Well, France adds another masterpiece to its art treasures that's worth over $40 million. The oil on canvas, called A Boating Party by 19th century French artist Gustave Caillebotte, went on to display Monday at Paris's Orsay Museum. The artwork shows an oarsman in a top hat rowing his small boat on calm waters. France acquired the stunning Impressionist masterpiece valued at $43 million thanks to a donation from luxury goods giant LVMH. The coveted painting was one of the last Caillebotte masterpieces privately owned and kept by generations in the artist family. Pretty cool. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, and we're beginning our day with an alert day and with a traffic alert, as despite the fact the snow has stopped, still got some roadways out there that are slick. Now, the MoDOT camera 30-second and range line, you can see it is clear. And the main roads in Joplin are clear, but the side roads aren't. And Joplin has again canceled school for today, along with many others scrolling across the bottom of your screen. And again, you'll see most of them are in southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement in parts of Cherokee County on the MoDOT side of things. South of I-44, still looking at partly covered to covered roadways out there. So if you're traveling in Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, even up to Mount Vernon, take it slow. Give yourself plenty of time because there are still slick spots and we may see more later today. Winter weather advisory, Delaware County through 6 tonight. We could see some additional ones along and south of I-44, depending on how our wintry mix today plays out. We're at 19 in Joplin, feeling like 9 with a north-northeast breeze at 8 miles an hour. A bitterly cold start again today. 11 Yates Center, 12 Iola, Fort Scott, 17 Pittsburgh, 22 Miami, 19 Neosho, Carthage, and 17 in Lamar. And with the wind, feels like 1 below in Fort Scott in Nevada, 0 in Iola, 7 Columbus, 12 Miami, Neosho, feels like 5 in Lamar. So our snow chances, again, not exponentially high, but they are there. And what we see shouldn't accumulate much, but could lead to additional slick spots out on the roadways, which is why we want you to take it easy with, again, some slick conditions out there. Keep a tight grip on the wheel. And that is why we do have a red light for your morning commute. We're cloudy, cold, and we still have slick spots out there, and a red light for your evening commute as well. Wintry mix kicks in late this morning, wraps up by about 3, 4 o'clock, and that could lead to additional slick spots out there. For the kids with school today, we're looking at 14 at 7 a.m., northeast breeze 5 to 10 and cloudy, and then maybe some light snow by 3, 21, winds gusting to about 20. High of 24, that puts our wind chills back into the upper single digits, lower teens, and then we're just cloudy after the snow moves out. Cloudy tonight down to a bitterly cold 16 degrees, but there's a little relief on the way. First, we have to get through Wednesday into Thursday. Another chilly one. A late night, early morning wintry mix Thursday could lead to some slick spots. Then it clears out. We're up to 44 Thursday. A little more sunshine on Friday. And even though we're mostly cloudy heading into the weekend and start of next week, look at these temperatures into the 50s, near 60 by Monday. However, we get knocked back down a little bit after this system. Some rain, maybe a wintry mix by Wednesday down to 36, and then maybe some showers next Thursday and back up to 40. But look at these overnight lows, a lot more manageable as we head into the weekend and next week. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A car crash in Newton County leads to serious injuries for a Fredonia, Kansas man. The crash happened at approximately 6:23 Sunday night on Missouri 43 at Capoke Drive, 1 mile north of Seneca. 2001 Dodge Ram driven by Joanne Baker experienced a vehicle defect while attempting to make a turn and was struck by a 2013 Hyundai Sonata driven by 39-year-old Jess Seward from Fredonia, Kansas. Seward was transported to Mercy Hospital with serious injuries. Another Sunday night crash, this time in Jasper County, leads to serious injuries for a Carl Junction man. The crash occurred at approximately 11:45 Sunday night at Highway P on Central City Road, a quarter of a mile west of Joplin. Kia Rio, driven by Cody Harrington, slid into the eastbound lane and struck a 2017 Chevy Cruze driven by Sarah Hartman of Joplin. Harrington was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Hartman was taken to Freeman Hospital in Joplin with moderate injuries. Authorities filed charges against 2 Joplin residents for a suspected mail stealing spree in the Joplin area. They say 30-year-old Aaron Blake and 27-year-old Emily Sturgis are responsible for stealing mail from more than 170 victims. During the investigation, authorities searched a room at the Terra Motel where Sturgis and Blake used to stay. And they say they found open mail with W-2 forms, car titles, financial statements, and checks and credit cards. Both suspects are charged with stealing in Jasper County. And the City of Joplin and Missouri Department of Transportation are always monitoring for winter weather. Joplin city officials say they start planning and preparing for these events in the summer. MoDOT officials ask drivers to be cautious around snowplow workers on the highways. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. An experienced climber from Colorado Springs has set all sorts of records in recent years, but Rachel Jones faced her biggest hurdle yet, becoming the first woman to ever conquer 1,000 inclines in a year. What was even more amazing about her feat is she did it all while being pregnant. Lindsay Grew has her story.
The Manitou Incline, 2,768 steps of agony or fun, depending on who you ask. Most people living in its shadow at least want to do it once. Then you have those people who come out here again and again, doing doubles, doing triples, even 22 times in a day.
In 2021, Rachel Jones set out to join one of the incline's most exclusive groups, the 500 Club, that rarefied group of incliners who have completed 500 laps in a year. But when that proved too easy, she decided to try something only a few others ever had.
There's a really small club called the 1,000 Club, and only 3 people have ever done it 1,000 times within a year. All men, all phenomenal, incredible, strong men. And I just felt like, why not? And I wanted something that would push me more, that would stretch me more, that I would have to sacrifice more.
She never guessed how much more. Rachel's journey to 1,000 started in December 2021. She would have 365 days to complete her goal. She faced the usual hurdles early on, sometimes having to fit as many as 8, 10, 12 inclines in a day around a full-time job and being a mom to a teenager. Then, with less than 4 months to go.
And my body was just starting to feel run down, and I'm thinking maybe I'm overdoing it. I don't know what's going on. Come to find out, end of September, I discovered that I'm pregnant.
Rachel was thrilled.
But the timing was just not ideal, obviously.
So she spoke to her doctor.
Because I had already hiked so much leading up to the beginning of my pregnancy, my body was accustomed to continue going. So she was fully on board with me continuing, but I'd need to work around my symptoms of the first trimester, which were brutal.
Rachel dug deep within herself to finish those 1,000 laps.
Doing these slower laps and it being harder, it was kind of a really neat and humbling experience to end in that way, to not end feeling like I'm my strongest and fastest and on top of the world. Instead, I felt like when I started in the beginning. It was a really cool feeling.
And outside of her family, no one knew she was climbing for 2 until that very last day.
I took kinesio tape and I wrote 19 weeks on my belly with the tape. And when I got to the top, I lifted my shirt up and showed everyone and kind of announced, hey, I'm pregnant, I've been pregnant.
And before she's even born, her little girl is already quite the incliner herself.
Of the 1,003 laps that I hiked, she was with me for 440 of them.
That's impressive. Now, Jones said she had to overcome some adversity when she was pregnant. She said there were some days she planned to hike, but didn't have enough energy to get out of bed. We'll be right back. Well, you normally wouldn't see pictures of Mars and think, ooh, cuddly stuffed animal. But the latest photo of the red planet's surface might give you that feeling. People are saying this rock formation looks like the face of a teddy bear. The photo was taken in December by the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. University of Arizona, which operates the camera, says a series of structural changes made the formation. The circle that makes the bear's head is actually a surface fracture that stretches nearly 1.25 miles. The eyes are formed by 2 craters, and the snout is a collapsed structure, possibly a volcanic or mud vent. A lot of things. Well, some of the top names in the video game industry will be skipping E3 this year, and that's according to reports. Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo will not be at one of the most popular gaming conventions in June. E3 is coming back after a year off in 2022. E3 once known as the prime platform for video game announcements, has become smaller in recent years as other stages have grown in popularity. Sony hasn't attended the conference since 2018, while Microsoft says it'll be holding a showcase in the summer, but it didn't specify exactly where.
Well, we have an alert day for today as we have another round of wintry weather, again along and south of I-44, some late morning to early afternoon. No major accumulations, but slick spots possible, and we do have slick spots this morning as well to deal with. And it's cold today. 24 is our high. That wintry mix clears out, and we're left with cloudy skies, and we start to get downright chilly heading into the evening. Temperatures bounce around a little bit, but will settle at 16 for an overnight low. And this isn't the only round of wintry weather we've got to deal with. So as we go through today, this system does its thing, and then it will exit out of here. We get a break from the wintry weather Wednesday, and then late Wednesday night and very early Thursday morning, we have another round of potential wintry weather that's going to be coming in. But there's some good news, is it's going to be warm after that. So 37 tomorrow, that early wintry mix possible Thursday, so maybe some slick spots, but up to 44. And we're 44 Friday, and then we're into the 50s Saturday and Sunday to near 60 by Monday with some evening showers. But then this system puts our temperatures back in check, down to normal and a little bit below as we see some rain Tuesday, 45, 36 next Wednesday, maybe another wintry mix and some showers next Thursday, and 40. We're back with more right after this.
Right now at 6, showdown on Capitol Hill as the president prepares to sit down with Speaker of the House. Can they reach an agreement on what to do about the debt ceiling?
Main roads in Joplin are clear for the time being, but that could change as the morning progresses. We'll talk about more wintry weather on the way coming up.
And the Missouri Department of Transportation keeps one eye on the sky and one eye on the roads in preparation for dealing with winter's worst. Yana Tula takes us for a closer look at how MoDOT and the city of Joplin is keeping the streets clear and safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. Coming up on 6:01 and another cold one out there. In fact, we still have slick spots on some of the area roadways. KDOT is still reporting some wet pavement across parts of Cherokee County. So if you're traveling this morning, do be cautious out there. And then on the Missouri side, MoDOT's still reporting some partly covered to covered roadways south of I-44. So we've been mentioning, Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, Mount Vernon, those areas. Slow down, take it easy if you have to be out. But again, also a number of schools have already canceled for this morning. We've got those scrolling across the bottom of your screen. You'll note most of these are in northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri, where we're still dealing with some of that nasty wintry precipitation we got yesterday. Winter weather advisory for Delaware County through 6 this evening. We could see some additional ones later today, depending on how this system pans out. 18 right now in Joplin, feeling like 8 with a north breeze at 8 and a bitterly cold start for us across the areas. We've got temperatures in the teens out there for a lot of us. 12 Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 14 Nevada, 20 Miami, 19 Neosho. Factor in the wind, feels like 0 in Fort Scott, 2 in Chanute, 8 Miami. Feels like 9 in Neosho this morning. Our snow chances pick up a little bit as we head into the afternoon. So you can see where that starts to spike a little bit. The system starts working in late morning and is out by the early afternoon. So no significant accumulations, but it could be just enough to lead some additional icy conditions and slick spots out there. So do be cautious. And again, this is once again mostly along and south of I-44. So we do have a red light for your morning drive. While there's no precip falling, we still have plenty of slick spots out there, so do take it easy. Where is that car going?
Backwards?
Okay, it just kind of puzzled me for a moment. Okay, and we have a red light for your drive home as we, the things you can see sometimes, as we will have that wintry mix and some slick spots. For the kids in school, we're looking at 14 by 7 a.m., northeast breeze 5 to 10, gusting to 20 later today. Maybe some light snow by 3 o'clock, 21, a high of only 24 today. And then after the snow clears out, we are cloudy and cold, so no melting taking place. 16 for our overnight low under cloudy skies. However, we got one more round of wintry weather to get through this week. That's late Wednesday into early Thursday. No major accumulations again, but could lead to some slick spots. Then we're up to 44 Thursday, so some melting is going to start to take place. And then look at the weekend. We start getting into the 50s to near 60 by Monday with some evening rain chances. And look at the overnight lows, too. I mean, they're cold, but they are nowhere near as cold as they are right now. So we are going to see a little bit of a warm-up, but then after Monday, our temperatures will return to normal or slightly below. So enjoy it while it lasts this weekend. It's perfect timing, too. Enjoy this weekend. Everybody's going to want to get out.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, that shot of that car that was driving backwards there reminded me the other day, last week, when you had all the MoDOT cameras pulled up. And one of them, man, I swear I saw a car driving backwards along the highway. But then it was gone before I had a chance for you to see it.
It's possible. You never know, but it's interesting to be able to see all these different perspectives around the city. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a car crash in Newton County leads to serious injuries for a Fredonia, Kansas man. The crash happened at approximately 6:23 Sunday night on Missouri 43 at Capoke Drive, 1 mile north of Seneca. A 2001 Dodge Ram driven by Joanne Baker experienced a vehicle defect while attempting to make a turn and was struck by a 2013 Hyundai Sonata driven by 39-year-old Jess Seward from Fredonia, Kansas. Seward was transported to Mercy Hospital with serious injuries. Another Sunday night crash, this time in Jasper County, leads to serious injuries for a Coral Junction man. The crash occurred approximately 11:45 Sunday night on Highway P at Central City Road, a quarter mile west of Joplin. A Kia Rio driven by Cody Harrington slid into the eastbound lane and struck a 2017 Chevy Cruze driven by Sarah Hartman of Joplin. Harrington was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Hartman was taken to Freeman Hospital in Joplin with moderate injuries. Authorities filed charges against 2 Joplin residents for a suspected mail stealing spree in the Joplin area. They say 30-year-old Aaron Blake and 27-year-old Emily Sturgis are responsible for stealing mail from more than 170 victims. During the investigation, authorities searched a room at the Terra Motel where Sturgis and Blake used to stay. They say they found open mail with W-2 forms, car titles, financial statements, and checks and credit cards. Both suspects are charged with stealing in Jasper County. City of Joplin and Missouri Department of Transportation are always monitoring for winter weather. Joplin city officials say they start planning and preparing for these events in the summer. MoDOT officials ask drivers to be cautious around snowplow workers on the highways.
If the drivers can give us as much room as possible to work, that's really helpful. And if possible, stay back and do not pass. You know, our drivers are typically driving about 45 or 50 on the interstate. And in this kind of weather, you know, that's pretty much the optimal speed.
MoDOT officials say you can go to MoDOT travel information map to see road conditions and traffic cameras for an idea of how the roads look. Coming up later in the show, KOAM's Yana Dula takes us for a closer look at what it takes to keep Joplin roads clear. Well, the fight over the nation's debt limit is just getting started, but there could be some movement this week with both sides agreeing to sit down and talk face-to-face for the first time. Nicole D'Antonio has the details.
President Biden says he wants to hear from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy what kind of budget cuts Republicans are looking for.
Show me your budget, I'll show you mine.
House Republicans say they will not raise the debt ceiling unless there are also spending cuts.
I want to find a reasonable and a responsible way that we can lift the debt ceiling but take control of this runaway spending.
But President Biden maintains that even just threatening to default on America's debt is harmful to the economy. He and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy will sit down to discuss this issue on Wednesday. House Republicans have been taking the lead on the negotiations, with Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell saying anything that comes from the Senate would likely just fail in the current House.
In this current situation, the debt ceiling fix, if there is one, or how it's to be dealt with, will have to come out of the House.
But some of McConnell's Senate colleagues are jumping into the fray with the House. 22 GOP senators sent this letter to President Biden saying they intend to stand by the policy that any debt ceiling raise must be matched by equal or greater spending cuts. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Democrats say the Republicans have yet to say what kind of cuts they want or where they would come from. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, fallout in Memphis.
Law enforcement take more action after the beating and death of Tyree Nichols. I'm Jared Hill in Memphis with the latest.
Plus, a new study shows multiple concussions means more issues with brain functions later in life. We've got the details. And Chris has another look at your forecast and when the 4 states can expect to thaw out. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, Memphis police now say 2 more officers were disciplined following the arrest of Tyree Nichols, and the city's fire department has fired 3 employees for their actions on the scene. We want to warn you, the video and audio from the police videos are graphic and may be disturbing to some viewers. CBS News' Jared Hill has the details.
The Memphis Police Department now says 2 more officers, one of them, Preston Hemphill, have been suspended pending an investigation. All of this following the beating of Tyree Nichols. This is Hemphill's body cam from the initial traffic stop. It shows him trying to tase Nichols before he runs away. Hemphill later said this.
I hope they stop his.
Hemphill was not present at the second incident where 5 now fired officers beat Nichols. Those 5 are being charged with second-degree murder.
That was a gang of men attacking a 150-pound guy.
The Memphis Fire Department also announced it has fired 2 paramedics and a lieutenant for not following policies and protocols. Video shows Nichols wasn't given medical attention for several crucial minutes. He died 3 days later.
Everybody's walking around nonchalantly like it's business as usual. So it should be accountability for everybody on the video.
Memphis police warned there could be more personnel actions in the coming days, and the district attorney's office has said that their investigation is ongoing and there could be more charges in the future.
We're praying for the hurting people in the community.
A prayer vigil was held last night in the neighborhood where the tragic incident happened. Friends of Nichols also gathered in his hometown of Sacramento.
Now, Bishop, he was more than skateboarding. He was somebody that was going to comfort you.
A funeral service for Nichols will be held tomorrow. Jared Hill, CBS News, Memphis.
That's a look at one of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we have another alert day for us today. While main roads in Joplin are clear for now, we are tracking additional snow that's going to move into the area. We'll tell you where it's going to impact and what kind of road conditions we're looking at when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We have an alert day for us today as we could see another round of wintry weather, and once again, mainly along and south of Interstate 44. We also have a traffic alert this morning as we still have slick spots out on the roadways. Now, the main roads in Joplin are clear this morning. When I left, the side roads are still sleet covered. They're a little bit on the slick side, but this could change as the day progresses. Now, right now, KDOT still showing some wet pavement, as they call it, in Cherokee County, so you need to make sure you slow down, give yourself plenty of time. On the Missouri side of things, south of I-44, MoDOT's still reporting partly covered to covered roadways. So we've been highlighting Mount Vernon, Monette, Cassville, Pineville, Neosho, this whole area. Make sure if you are traveling today that you slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. A number of schools, businesses, and organizations closed or canceled for today, and you'll note that most of them are in this region of southwest Missouri and then back into northeast Oklahoma as well, because we still have those slick spots out there. Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear for now. We have a winter weather advisory in Delaware County through 6 this evening. However, as this system plays out today, we could see some additional advisories along Interstate 44 with today's incoming snow and wintry mix chances. We are at 18 in Joplin, cloudy, feels like 8 with a north breeze at 8, and across the region, it is a bitterly cold start for us today. 12, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 14, Nevada, 16, Pittsburgh, Parsons, 20, Miami, 19 in Neosho, and you factor in that breeze, even though it's not a very strong breeze, we're looking at 0 is what it feels like in Fort Scott, 2 in Iola, 6 Columbus, 8 Miami, and feels like 9 in Neosho this morning. Our snow chances will start to pick up once we head into the afternoon, and so we're going to start seeing some of it late morning through the afternoon and into the early evening, and then they'll taper off as this system exits. So significant accumulations aren't expected, but it could be enough to lead to more icy, slick roads out there. So if you are traveling, again, really along and south of I-44, slow down, give yourself plenty of time. And that is why we still have a red light for your morning commute. We're cloudy, we're cold, and there's still plenty of slick slick spots out there this morning, and a red light for your evening drive as that wintry mix wraps up could lead to additional slick spots even on some of the roads that are clear. Now, a good portion of southeast Kansas and the northern part of our area in southwest Missouri really haven't seen much other than the cold temperature, so school's still in session for some. We're looking at 14 by 7 a.m., cloudy with a northeast breeze at 5 to 10. Some of us could get into some light snow by 3 o'clock, 21, and we could see this wind gusting to about 20 at times, making wind chills in the upper single digits to lower teens. A high of 24 today. We're cloudy outside of the wintry weather chances, and as we head into tonight, we remain cloudy, and temperatures will eventually drop back down to a very cold 16 degrees for our overnight low. Now, this isn't the only round of wintry weather we've got to deal with as we head into the afternoon. Once it clears out, we get a break for the majority of Wednesday, and then late Wednesday night and very early Thursday morning, another system, and again, roughly in the same area, along and south of I-44, brings some additional wintry weather for us, but there's some good news with that one because Thursday it's going to be a lot warmer. So once we get into that, we're 37 tomorrow, 44 on Thursday, so no major accumulations, but slick spots possible late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. We'll continue to warm up heading into the weekend, back into the 50s to near 60 by Monday with some evening shower chances. And that system is going to take our well above average temperatures and put them right back in their place to at or slightly below average as we head through the rest of next week. Maybe some rain Tuesday, 45, another wintry mix possible by next Wednesday and 36. And we'll make it back to 40 by next Thursday with some additional shower chances, but at least our overnight lows will eventually start to improve a little bit. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the coronavirus remains a global health emergency, but there is hope the pandemic may be reaching an inflection point where higher levels of immunity can lower virus-related deaths. The director of the World Health Organization says that in the coming year, the world could transition to a new phase in which hospitalizations and deaths are reduced to the lowest levels possible. Well, people who experience 3 or more concussions could have issues with brain function later in life. A UK study of more than 15,000 participants found people who suffered at least 3 concussions had significantly worse cognitive function and that it got successfully worse with each injury. Doctors say patients who have had concussions should be warned of the dangers of continuing a high-risk sport or work. And another study in the UK finds people with celiac disease have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease, even though they have fewer known risk factors like obesity or high blood pressure. Researchers found the risk increased the longer a person had been living with celiac disease. They're trying to determine if a gluten-free diet may play a role. An American family living in Thailand says a new method of delivering gene therapy has saved their daughter's life. Doctors say the treatment holds promise for a number of brain disorders. CBS's Ian Lee reports.
Riley Ann's parents knew something was wrong when she was just a few months old.
She wasn't rolling, she wasn't moving much.
The Pulin family took countless trips to the emergency room in Thailand, where doctors first thought she had epilepsy or cerebral palsy.
My wife is bawling her eyes out, my daughter's in pain, and there's nothing I can do.
At a year old, she was diagnosed with AADC deficiency, an extremely rare disorder that interferes with the way cells in the nervous system communicate.
I remember Googling and it says no cure available. My heart just shattered and I thought it was over.
But months later, a gene therapy clinical trial in Taiwan would change everything.
We were so thankful.
In a minimally invasive surgery, doctors delivered genetic material directly to Riley Ann's brain, curing the condition.
And just by having the one procedure, you're able to correct the genetic defect so that the patient has restorative life for the rest of their life.
Show us how you can stand up. The treatment transformed Riley Ann's world. She's now a healthy and active 4-year-old.
She went from being basically paraplegic, can't move, can't thrive, to interacting with the world.
It's a new life for her.
Riley Ann's new life could give hope to others, as experts believe brain-delivered gene therapy also holds promise for treating other diseases. Ian Lee, CBS News.
A U.S. drug company hopes to get FDA approval for the treatment this year. About 30 studies are underway here in the U.S. to test gene therapy to the brain, targeting diseases including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Yeah, we're watching additional wintry weather today, so we have an alert day for us today. We still have some slick roads out there as well, and if we get them this wintry weather, we're going to see more slick roads. Winter weather advisory, Delaware County through 6 this evening. Could see a few more pop up along and south of I-44, where this next round is expected to hit. 18 in Joplin, feeling like 8, cloudy with a north breeze at 8, and it's again, we've been saying it the last couple of days now, another bitterly cold start. 12 in Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 16 Pittsburgh Parsons, 20 Miami Anderson, 19 Neosho, and 18 in Carthage. And you factor in even just a light breeze this morning, feels like 0 in Fort Scott, 2 Iola Chanute, 6 in Columbus, 8 Miami, and feels like 9 as we start the day in Neosho. We'll have this wintry weather start to move in again along and south of I-44 later this morning. Chances really pick up by this afternoon, and then they'll taper off by late afternoon, early evening, however you might put that. And that could again lead to some additional slick spots out there and on top of what we already have, so do be cautious. And those slick spots, main roads in Joplin are clear, side roads are not. Joplin has canceled classes today. Red light for your morning commute, slick spots and cloudy, and a red light for your drive home with that wintry mix adding to those slick spots. And for kids that do have school, it's going to be a cold one, 14 at 7 a.m. and cloudy, maybe some light snow by 3 and 21. Winds could gust upwards of 20. A high of 24 today. We'll have cloudy skies otherwise and very cold. And as we head into this evening, back down to 16 under cloudy skies as well. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6:30, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly moves to make a $4 million investment in early childhood education across the state.
We've got another alert day for us, especially for folks along and south of I-44 as we're looking at another round of wintry weather today. We'll break it all down coming up.
And the Missouri Department of Transportation keeps one eye on the sky and one eye on the roads in preparation for dealing with winter's worst. Yana Tula takes us for a closer look at how MoDOT and the city of Joplin is keeping streets clear and safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So another bitterly cold start for us today, and we, believe it or not, still have slick spots out there on the area roadways, if you can believe it. And we're going to have additional slick spots later today. So we've still got KDOT reporting some wet pavement throughout most of Cherokee County. So do slow down. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. On the MoDOT side, they're still reporting some partly covered to covered roadways south of I-44. So if you're traveling around Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, Mount Vernon, slow down, give yourself time. A lot of schools in this same area in southwest Missouri and in the northeast Oklahoma have already canceled for today, and you'll see those scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Looking at the Skywatch Storm Tracker, nothing on it right now. We do have that winter weather advisory through 6 this evening for Delaware County. Could see additional ones later this morning as the snow gets underway. 18 in Joplin, feeling like 8 with a north breeze at 8. And again, cold temperatures across the region. We've got 12 in Iola, Fort Scott, 16 Pittsburgh Parsons, 20 in Miami, 19 Neosho, and 17 in Lamar. You factor in the wind, feels like 0 in Fort Scott, 2 in Chanute and Iola, 8 in Miami, 8 in Carthage, feels like 6 in Lamar. Snow chances, again, along and south of I-44 will ramp up as we head into late morning and into the afternoon, and they'll taper off by about 3, 4 o'clock today. No major accumulations expected, but it could be enough with the cold weather to lead to additional slick spots out there. So make sure you slow down if you do have to travel. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range Line. Traffic piling up. The main roads in Joplin for the time being are clear. Side roads are not. We have a red light for your morning commute as we are cloudy, cold, and got those slick spots. And a red light again for the drive home. After that wintry mix clears out, it is going to be slick yet again. Kids that do have school getting on the bus about 14 at 7 a.m. And then those northeasterly winds could gust up to 20 later, 21 by 3 o'clock with some light snow in the area. Up to 24 today. day, cloudy skies outside of the wintry mix area. And then tonight we're down to 16 for our low, so very cold and cloudy. Another wintry mix late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. Then we clear out and we start to warm up into the 50s by this weekend to near 60 by Monday with some evening rain chances. So if we can just get through the next 2 or 3 days, we got a little bit of a break, a little bit of a warm up ahead of us.
Well, yeah, we can make it through it.
I think we can.
We've been through worse.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. We've been through worse. We can get through this.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, authorities respond to an emergency medical situation in Pittsburgh. It started January 25th at approximately 7 a.m. Law enforcement officers and first responder units were dispatched to a residence in the 300 block of West Park Street. Upon arrival, responders located a 25-year-old female subject in the residence who sustained what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That subject was transported to Via Christi for emergency treatment and later to Freeman Health in Joplin, where she passed away January 27th. There were no indications of foul play and a firearm was found at the scene. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces a $4 million grant to advance early childhood education statewide. The state's Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund received the grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It will support efforts to bolster the early childhood workforce and to conduct a study on streamlining programs to make them easier for families to navigate. Well, road conditions during these times can be tough. And KOAM's Yana Tula talked with Joplin and Missouri Department of Transportation officials about how workers do their best to keep the roads clear.
Winter weather is back in the 4 states, but the city and state road workers are ready.
All of the plows, all of the salt spreaders, and all of the brine spraying equipment, we make sure everything is working and ready to go. And then after that, it's just waiting for the storms.
Planning for winter weather starts all the way back in the summer. This time, the amount of winter precipitation is not too high, so the city is working with health crew.
At this point, just putting out the salt. There's a little bit of cinders mixed in, but not a lot, and that's because some of the salt we're able to get back and reuse, very small amount, but for the most part, it's all just clean salt.
Missouri Department of Transportation workers are in charge of Range Line, 7th Street, and other highways in the area.
It's not thick enough to plow off, and it's a lot of the times it's froze down on the pavement. It's flash freezing once the rain hits the cold surface. So these are definitely more challenging, the freezing rain events.
Timing the treatments is crucial. Both MoDOT and the City of Joplin monitor the weather and drive around to be ready on the roads when the right time comes to start treating them.
We look at the temperature and we look at the road conditions. So as it starts getting, the idea is ideally you want to start, you don't want to put your materials out too early because it just gets knocked off the road. You want to put it out just before it starts getting slick, just before that precipitation hits.
MoDOT officials say you can go to MoDOT travel information map to see road conditions and traffic cameras for an idea about what the roads are looking like. Of course, you can find a link to any of the road conditions if you go to KOAM News now and click on weather resources.
Yep, and you can also find a complete list of closings across the area
That's
there
right.
as well.
All right. Well, this morning we're discussing the master of horror himself, Stephen King.
Stephen King. There's a chance you know who he is, and if you don't, I got some great news for you. We're going to go ahead and tell you about him. See, Stephen King is an American author of horror, supernatural, fiction, suspense, crime, science fiction, and fantasy novels. He's earned the title King of Horror. His books have sold more than 350 million copies, and many have been adapted into films, television series, miniseries, and comic books.
Now, King has published 64 novels, including 7 under the pen name Richard Bauckham, as well as 5 nonfiction books. He's approximately written 200 short stories, most of which have been published in book collections, and he's received multiple awards over his career, including the Bram Stoker Award.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. What's your favorite Stephen King book? So far, 20% of you say Carrie, 30% of you say The Green Mile, 10% of you say Misery, 11/22/63, Needful Things, and 19% of you, just updated, so now 18% of you say something else, and 9% of you say The Shining. Make sure you vote through our website, through our app, take part in the discussion, and if you voted other, make sure you share what your favorite Stephen King book is as well.
There you go. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, sustainability, and the travel industry.
Sustainability is a big buzzword in travel these days. I'm Wendy Gillette in Los Cabos, Mexico, with tips on how to be a more responsible tourist.
Plus, we're calm now, but more wintry weather is on the way. We'll take a look at your complete forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, major insurers, Progressive and State Farm have stopped providing new policies for certain Hyundai and Kia models. Comes after the Highway Loss Institute found that theft claims for 2015 through 2019 Hyundai and Kia vehicles were almost twice as high as compared with all other automakers. The reason for the higher theft claims is a lack of electronic immobilizers in some Hyundai and Kia models that would otherwise prevent thieves from breaking in and bypassing the ignition. An important consumer alert. The Rhode Island-based sausage company Danielle International is recalling nearly 53,000 pounds of ready-to-eat products because they may be contaminated with listeria. The recalled meats sold nationwide include salami and pepperoni sold under several brand names as charcuterie platters. So far, no one has reported getting sick. Streaming service Paramount Plus is integrating Showtime into its linear streaming platforms. Showtime's streaming service will no longer be available and instead will be rebranded as Paramount Plus with Showtime in the United States. The new joint streaming platform starts at $11.99 a month. CBS News is also a part of the Paramount family. Well, sustainability is a hot topic right now in the travel world. Protecting the environment is the most common way people associate it with the industry. But as Wendy Gillette reports, sustainability extends to many other areas.
A drone helps snorkel tour leaders in the Sea of Cortez in Mexico spot schools of fish from above. In Cabo Pulmo National Park, 60 miles north of Los Cabos, sea lions and other marine life abound, thanks to a ban on fishing and additional protections instituted almost 3 decades ago when almost all of the fish had disappeared.
It is full of life. The fish found it, and it is really the place that is representing what Jacques Cousteau once called the entire Sea of Cortez the aquarium of the world.
Many in the Los Cabos area are fixated on protecting the environment in and out of the water. In front of Grand Velas Resort, a beach cleaner and employees routinely sweep the sand, removing debris.
When you walk on a beach in Los Cabos, you see a clear blue color on the ocean and clean brown sand. That's how we want to keep it.
We stayed at Grand Velas and Hotel El Ganzo for special rates, where art residencies and a community center are part of the sustainability initiatives.
I think it's not just a matter of giving back to the community, it's a matter of giving back something to the world.
Sustainability is so important here. The Los Cabos Tourism Board has devised 10 rules for responsible tourists, including shopping at local businesses and not bargaining with owners.
When you are making a sustainable impact in the community, you are helping to advance in the quality of life that everyone has.
Laurence Jobeget recently visited Los Cabos with her family from Lexington, Kentucky.
I've seen that actually in the shops in Cabos. They just give like paper bags, which was quite interesting.
A new survey from Expedia finds 90% of consumers are now looking for sustainable options when traveling. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Los Cabos, Mexico.
A few other sustainability rules for tourists includes managing your waste, learning and respecting the community's customs, taking photos rather than removing anything from its natural environment. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we have another alert day for us today as we're watching an additional winter weather system coming in late this morning into the early afternoon. And once again, right along and south of Interstate 44, a number of schools in southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma have canceled. Those are scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Otherwise, we're heading for a high of 24. Winds could gust up to 20. That'll put our wind chills back into the upper single digits and lower teens. Will be cloudy throughout the day, and tonight we stay cloudy, dropping back down to a low of 16 degrees, so downright cold out there. However, there's some relief on the way. We've got one more winter system to get through. That's going to be late Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning. No major accumulation expected here or here, but each of these are going to lead to some slick spots out there, so be cautious today and Thursday morning. However, look at Thursday's high, 44. After that, we get into the 50s by this weekend, and then up to near 60 by Monday with maybe some evening showers. And then we look beyond that, that system puts our temperatures back in check, unfortunately. Some rain Tuesday, 45, a wintry mix possible Wednesday and 36, and then 40 on Thursday with some additional shower chances. But at least following this, our overnight lows start to get a little bit more reasonable over the next several nights. Let's check your forecast, and we have made it through Monday. That sounds like a great reason to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. But first, put on your coat and gloves and I'll warm up the car because we're going to take a trip to the Big Apple to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony Nicopol. Coming up on CBS Mornings, our road to the Grammy Series continues as Anthony Mason goes inside the studio with Steve Lacy, who's up for 4 Grammys, including Record of the Year. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's 4th-state hero, Roy Flora. Corporal Flora served in the U.S. Marines. He served in the Korean War from 1951 to 1953. After the war, he served as a law enforcement officer in the Frontenac area for 25 years. A native of Pittsburgh, Kansas, we thank you, today's 4th-state hero, Roy Flora.
All right, time for those Tuesday birthdays, and we begin in Sheldon with Maddie Westerhold celebrating number 5. Happy birthday, Maddie.
And Gunnar Burton celebrating birthday number 8 this year. Gunnar is in Columbus, Kansas.
And Willa Fecky in Carl Junction celebrating number 9. She loves to dance, going to dance at Disney World this summer. And this comes with love from Mom, Dad, and Kenzie. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Willa. And in Pittsburgh, Reed Prophet celebrating birthday number 10 this year. Hope it's a great one for you, Reed.
And we've got Jonathan Honschel celebrating number 42 in Carthage. Happy birthday, Jonathan.
Nicholas Ybarra celebrating the big 5-0 this year. Looks like he's got a friend leaning over his shoulder there. Nicholas is in Joplin.
All right, Brenda Parsons celebrating number 78 in McCune. Happy birthday, Brenda.
And Stephen Gentle celebrating birthday number 79 this year. Great picture there of Stephen. Happy birthday, Poppy, from Melissa and Lori. And they say, we can't imagine life without you.
All right, we've also got Ron Trim celebrating in Thayer. Happy birthday, Ron. And Dion Thompson celebrating number 47 over in Chanute. Dion, happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of you. And let's continue to celebrate. How can they celebrate with us, Tanya?
All you have to do is send us your birthday. Send them to that email, koamnewsnow.com. Or that's actually the online link that you can send them to. You can do that method as well. I'm sorry.
You can go online. You can drop us an email, whichever is most convenient for you. And while you're on our website, why don't you take a moment to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club? We remind you about it every day because you get great deals from local businesses and you get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. Just head over to koamnewsnow.com, sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. All right, we have an alert day for us today as we've got additional wintry precipitation slated to move in a little later this morning and last into the early afternoon. And this is again mainly along and south of I-44. So right now, the main roads in Joplin are clear, as you can see on the MoDOT camera at 32nd and Range Line. Side roads are still sleet packed, and both MoDOT and KDOT still reporting slick spots out there. KDOT reporting wet pavement across a good portion of Cherokee County. So if you are driving, do be cautious, slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. On the Missouri side, MoDOT is still reporting some partly covered to completely covered roadways, really right along south of I-44. So Neosho, Pineville, Cassville, Monette, Mount Vernon, slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. And while some of these roads in Joplin are clear, that is very likely to change here over the next few hours. Now, right now, the Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear. We have the winter weather advisory for Delaware County through 6 this evening. But as this system moves in, we could see some additional advisories right along and south of I-44 as the morning progresses. We're at 18 in Joplin right now. North breeze at 8, making it feel like 8. There's a lot of 8s on there this morning. Cold across the region as we start. We've got 12s in Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, 13 Nevada, 15 Pittsburgh, 20 Miami, 19 Neosho, and 18 in Carthage. And you factor in that breeze. It feels cold. Feels like 0 in Nevada, Fort Scott, Iola, 1 in Yates Center, 7 in Columbus, and 10 in Neosho. So a bitterly cold start for us. And you can see as we head into late morning and into the afternoon, those snow chances, wintry mix chances really ramp up. And then by about 3, 4 o'clock, that kicks on out of here. So we're not anticipating significant accumulation with this system, but it's going to be enough that these cold roads that are already somewhat slick are going to get slicker as we go through the day. So if you are traveling, make sure you slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. A number of schools, businesses in extreme southwest Missouri and into northeast Oklahoma already canceled for today, and you can see them scrolling at the bottom of your screen. All right, that's why we do have a red light for your morning drive. We're cloudy, cold, slick spots out there, again, right along and south of I-44, and a red light for your drive home as this wintry mix wraps up, leaves us cloudy and cold. We could see some additional slick spots out there as well. Now, for the kids that do have school, we're looking at 14 by 7 a.m., northeast breeze at 5 to 10, maybe some light snow for some of us by 3:21, and then winds gusting to about 20, so that's going to put our wind chills down there in the single digits to lower teens. 24 for the high. We're cloudy outside of the snow chances across the area, and we'll be cloudy tonight, dropping back down to a low of 16 degrees. We got another little system to get through, so we're 37 tomorrow, late Wednesday, very early Thursday morning, a wintry mix possible, but then we warm up to 44, so slick spots again possible late Wednesday, early Thursday. And then we'll start to get the melt in action going as we get back into the 50s by this weekend and near 60 by Monday. We're back with more right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A car crash in Newton County leads to serious injuries for a Fredonia, Kansas man. The crash happened approximately 6:23 Sunday night on Missouri 43 at Capoke Drive, 1 mile north of Seneca. 2001 Dodge Ram driven by Joanne Baker experienced a vehicle defect while attempting to make a turn and was struck by a 2013 Hyundai Sonata driven by 39-year-old Jess Seward from Fredonia, Kansas. Seward was transported to Mercy Hospital with serious injuries. Another Sunday night crash, this time in Jasper County, leads to serious injuries for a Coral Junction man. The crash occurred approximately 11:45 Sunday night on Highway P at Central City Road, quarter mile west of Joplin. A Kia Rio driven by Cody Harrington slid into the eastbound lane and struck a 2017 Chevy Cruze driven by Sarah Hartman of Joplin. Harrington was taken to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Hartman was transported to Freeman Hospital in Joplin with moderate injuries. Authorities filed charges against 2 Joplin residents for a suspected mail stealing spree in the Joplin area. And they say 30-year-old Aaron Blake and 27-year-old Emily Sturgis are responsible for stealing mail from more than 170 victims. During the investigation, authorities searched a room at the Terra Motel where Sturgis and Blake used to stay. They say they found open mail with W-2 forms, car titles, financial statements, and checks and credit cards. Both suspects are charged with stealing in Jasper County. The City of Joplin and Missouri Department of Transportation are always monitoring for the winter weather, and Joplin city officials say they start planning and preparing for these events in the summer. MoDOT officials ask drivers to be cautious around snowplow workers on the highways. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And we've got an alert day for us today as along and south of I-44, more wintry weather late this morning into the early afternoon. Otherwise cloudy, cold, 24 for our high. We're cloudy tonight, dropping back down to 16 for our low. And a check of that 7-day forecast, another wintry mix possible early Thursday morning, maybe some slick spots there. And then we start to warm up into the 50s by this weekend and near 60 by Monday.
Coming up today at noon, we're making seashore linguine in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. And ahead on CBS Mornings, why Wall Street firms have taken an interest in water rights during the mega drought that's hitting the West.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, the SEK Humane Society stops by the studio to see if you need a furry four-legged date for Valentine's Day.
Plus, Charlene Patton from the Kansas Soybean Commission stopping by with an award-winning snack just in time for the Super Bowl. That'll score a touchdown with your taste buds.
Hey.
That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll do it again today at noon.